Hello, I'm Baer Kenney with Baer Sword School. Tonight we are at SwordStrong KC 2024, and with me is Mr. Rob Childs. Rob is a consummate martial artist. He is the world's premier rapier fighter and has quite a bit of experience in other areas as well. Let's talk with him, Rob. I'm glad to meet you. Glad you're here with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell us, where did your whole martial arts journey begin?
Birth. I only say that half in jest because for as long as I can possibly remember, and this is going back to age of 2 or so, I was always trying to learn sword fighting, and in fact, my mom was actually concerned for a while because I used to steal my dad's buck knife, and I would stand in that space between the wall and the couch, and I would practice sword fighting moves that I had seen on TV. And the only reason she ever found out about it is because every time I did it, I had to bring the knife back to her because I couldn't figure out how to close it. I mean, I was 2, so I mean, but from there, I mean, I used to, as I was growing up, I would learn any martial art I possibly could. And then when I was 16, for example, I was in Kembo. And then finally, when I was 17, because sword fighting is really what I wanted to do, when I was 17 years old, I was walking up to my English teacher after class because I had a question about an assignment, and I happened to glance over, and in his closet, he had some fencing foils. And the question I had before was immediately forgotten, and I had a whole new set of questions for him. And I was like, okay, do you teach? He says, yes. I says, sign me up. And I became my high school's first fencing student. From there, I was fencing within the USFA confines and got ranked and was, moving forward in that. But since it was the only game in town, that's what I was doing. But what I wanted was something a little more realistic, right? I want the martial art as opposed to the sport, right? And eventually, I came across some groups that were actually fencing with actual rapiers. And I absolutely I was like, absolutely. So I stepped in there and I started doing that with them. And it's just been ever since, when I went into the military and the military would send me someplace, I was, like when I went to Japan, I was studying Naginata with the locals out there. When they sent me to Sweden, I was fencing with people out there, Philippines, stick fighting, whatever the local martial art was, I would learn that and add that knowledge to my sword fighting knowledge. And it's ever since then. I mean, it's just that thanks to the military. I mean, the entire world was my classroom, and that's, from start to almost finish, because I'm still alive. I'm still learning. But yeah, that's where it comes from. Is I can't remember a time when I wasn't drawn to edged weapons.
Excellent. Well, you've studied all over the world, as you say, and over a large span of years, what made you decide to specialize in rapier specifically?
So rapier is all about speed and deception, and that's what really attracts me to it, is because there is no small amount of speed and deception when you are fencing with a rapier. I have fenced with rapier against other types of weapons, and it's just a grand time. I enjoy the hell out of it, and it allows me to exercise that. I have a very strong affinity for that, the whole speed and deception kind of thing. So yeah, that's what draws me to it mainly. And my favorite form above all is rapier and dagger. Uh-huh. Having a weapon in each hand allows you to create architectures and to strategize in ways, utilizing tactics that you just can't do with a single weapon in hand. It allows for the greatest amount of imagination, and I'm a big fan of it.
That's excellent. Yes, I took your class yesterday, and you were demonstrating some of the moves. It was remarkable in terms of the ingenuity and the different approach to the weapon than any I've ever studied in the past. So I'm very impressed with that. Now, I know you have a school. Can you tell us about the Black Tigers?
Yeah, the Black Tigers is a group that I started back in 2004 with a friend of mine, Joe Bricky, who was a very similarly minded guy. And we just sort of ran into each other by accident. And for the first time, I ran into somebody who also was a low guard fencer who didn't learn from me. He just sort of evolved to that the same way that I did. Similar backgrounds, similar approaches. And the next thing you know, we both knew that there was we needed to do this. With my knowledge and his evolution as well, and we put our heads together, and the style of fence that we teach to our students is, I mean, first and foremost, remember, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm sure there's nothing that we're doing that somebody, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago hasn't been doing before. But there was a lack of that at the time of the penchant, the desire to combine the best knowledge from all of these different areas. And me having traveled around the world, I knew that there were some great ideas, tactics, strategies, the techniques that were out there. I just could not see myself relegating myself to a single period style, as it were. I'm a big fan of the different styles out there, but I think all of them had truths that apply themselves to helping a swordsman, whoever you are, to become your best. And I don't think you can do that by studying any one particular style. So that's basically where my philosophy about it comes from. And he was of similar mind. So we started the Tigers, and everywhere the military ever sent me, I started a new chapter of the Tigers. And,
very nice.
And we have a very unique rank advancement system that we do. So we've got Tigers. I'm training one in China even as we speak. I've got chapters all over the U.S. I've got Tigers in Canada, and so that's where they came from. That's where we come from, and all of us have the same idea. It is learn from everyone and everything, and then take what works for you, what makes sense to you, and make it your own.
So tell me about the unique advancement process.
So I go according to what I call a black scarf system, right? So when I take on a student, that student becomes a black cord, right? And that person wears that cord when they train. And then it is a minimum of 1 year of training, and it's up to the teacher to decide whether or not that person's ready at the time, but it's a minimum of a year of training. When that student is ready to take their scarf test, it is 2 parts. One is the knowledge portion, and that's administered first. That means everything that you have taught them over the year or more is fair game. And then if they pass that portion of it, then comes the fight test. And when that person, if they pass that, what it is, it's a 10-minute long fight, and it is nonstop. And usually it's against, and it's rotating tigers in there. So after 2 minutes, another tiger comes in. So as you're
against one
student. And what that student is learning, the whole purpose behind it is not to see how many times they hit. It's not to see how many times they've been hit. But as their endurance goes away, do they continue to demonstrate all of those techniques and the strategies despite the fact that they are becoming exhausted? That's what is key.
Making them fight at a difficult point.
And as you put them through that, you make it the absolute hardest fight of their life. So that way, going forward into the future, when they think that they are faced against some difficult odds, or they think that they're tired, they're going to remember back and go, no, that was tired. I can do this. So,
excellent.
And then from there, once they have their black scarf, they compete in tournament. And if they compete in a tournament with 10 or more people, not counting themselves, has to be 10 other people, they'll gain their first rank. Second rank, 20-man tournament. Third rank, third-man tournament. Fourth rank is a 40-man tournament and a 3-on-1 fight. They have to successfully defend themselves and defeat 3 swordsmen at the same time.
Oh my.
Fifth rank is a 50-man tournament and 5-on-1.
Goodness. Now when they go to 10 and 20 and 30-man tournaments, do they have to medal or achieve a certain...
They have to win.
Rank? They have to win that tournament.
They have to win. So when they enter that tournament, to gain that rank, they have to win that tournament. So they have to win the 10-man, the 20-man, the 30-man.
Nice. So
it is completely merit-based. There is no, I feel you're ready for this rank, so I'm going to make you this rank. No. There is very specific things you do, and when you do it, it is purely merit-based.
Excellent. Now, I personally have fought 3-on-1, and that is an exceedingly difficult fight.
It is a different kind of skill set.
It is, completely. How many of your students have managed to achieve the 5-on-1?
I actually have currently in our school system, I believe we have 8 people now that are 5th ranks. And
very nice.
Yeah, it takes a while, mind you. It doesn't, it's not.
No, I know that's a many-year process.
Yeah, because like I said, it's a different skill set, and you have to train yourself to that. Everything that you've learned in one-on-one fights, yes, it still applies, but there's a whole body of knowledge that has to sit on top of that as well in order for you to successfully take on 3 and 5 people and be the winner.
I'm jealous I don't live near your school. All right, final question for you is, what would you tell a student just starting out in HEMA of any weapon type? What would you tell them to focus on?
So the greatest self-teaching tool that any person, I don't care whether you're just starting out or whether you've got 10 years of experience, but the greatest self-teaching tool that you can ever do yourself the benefit of practicing is every time when you're out there, whether you're sparring or whether you're in a tournament, every time you make contact with your opponent, or in particular, every time you are struck, stop for 2 seconds. See where everything was when you were struck and ask yourself, okay, why did that get through? Sometimes it's going to be the answer of, oh, I was a little too close and therefore I didn't have enough time. Sometimes it's going to be, oh, I parried, but I didn't parry all the way. Whatever the case is, if you stop for and it takes just 2 seconds to recognize why that hit you, then what you're doing is you're reinforcing what you should have done over and over and over again. And the next thing you know, it becomes a reflex for you and you're no longer thinking about it. Now you can focus on what is the next thing I need to grow stronger in.
That's one of the things I loved from your class yesterday was your practical approach. So basically you're saying learn from your mistakes, but that's a very nebulous concept. You give a very practical view of how to move forward on things like that. I respect that highly, and I wish more people in our community had that.
And it works both ways too. I mean, even when you strike your opponent, even if you struck them and they didn't strike you in that particular moment, you still need to ask yourself, okay, did I strike them and my opponent didn't hit me because it was luck? He just didn't happen to do what he should have done. And that way you're still learning.
That's still a mistake if you've left yourself open.
Exactly. Is it a masterful strike? He couldn't possibly have hit me back, or was it, I kind of got lucky? And you don't want to reinforce the luck.
Exactly.
Because back in the day, there was no such thing as a lucky old swordsman.
Correct. Luck runs out.
Exactly.
Well, I thank you very much for joining us here at the tournament, for giving an amazing talk yesterday, and for speaking with me here.
Well, thanks for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. It was an honor meeting you.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Sure thing.